This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au. Keep moving with Australia's #1 address in property.
Welcome back. Diversified property business REA Group had a strong half-year result this week, lifting its revenue 20% to about $873 million. The dominant player in Australia's property classifieds market more than tripled its net profit thanks to the sale of a stake in a business called Property Guru. Chief Executive Owen Wilson announced his intention to retire this year after 6 years as CEO and 10 years at the company. I caught up with him in an exclusive television interview a little earlier.
Well, that's one of the key things that had to be in place for me to ever contemplate leaving REA, is that the company has probably never been stronger. If you look at the results we put out for the first half today, they're exceptionally strong. We've got an incredible team in place at REA, an exciting strategy. Our audience lead has never been better, and so in terms of moving on to do something different, this seemed like a perfect time to do it when we're actually at the top of our game.
Yeah, when you reflect on your 6 years as CEO, what do you see as some of the big accomplishments?
I think the things I'm most proud of over that 6-year period, I think one is the team that we've got in place. I think we have one of the most talented executive teams in the country, and more importantly, a very, very strong culture. And that is something that can't be replicated. I think it is one of our competitive advantages. If you go deeper than that, then I think it's what we've done with our consumer experiences. We've grown our audience to about 12 million Australians every month on our site, and we've got a much bigger gap over our competition in that regard, which drives value to our customers. And then if you think from a shareholder perspective, I think the share price was about $72 on the day I took over, and I think we've created a bit of shareholder value along the way as well.
Yeah, obviously you're not stepping down anytime soon, but what are you going to do next?
Not sure. It won't be a full-time exec role. Obviously I'll have a look at some boards and maybe a bit of advisory work. I have been approached for some boards in the past and I've not been able to consider that, so I'll have a think about those now. But plenty of time to sort of bed that down.
One thing you have done is you've totally beaten your competitor Domain. It's now basically up for sale. Would you be attracted to buy Domain, or would there be too many ACCC competition issues there?
I don't think there's a world where the number one could acquire the number two. I think in any space in Australia, let alone in our space, I think given our market position, we are the clear market leader, and I think one, there'd be no strategic value in acquiring it, and two, it wouldn't be allowed.
All right, look, an investment question. Would you preference buying Domain or investing in your Australian business, or investing more money into the US and to your stake in Move?
I think from our perspective, obviously investing in the Australian business is something we've been doing for a very long time. We invest about 8% of our revenue in product development each year, which means that grows with our revenue. That's hundreds of millions of dollars in the product development, and you see that in some of the stuff we announced today around our consumer experiences, etc. I think the next priority for us would be India. If you take a 5 or 10 year view, if we're the number one property portal in India in a decade's time, that will be a fantastic investment for our shareholders, delivering great returns. So we want to continue to invest sensibly into the Indian market. We want to get to that number one position there. We're not there yet. We've got the leading app in the country, we've got the leading audience, but we're not number one in revenue or customers yet. So we've got a bit of a way to go in India, so that's where I'd like to invest more.
How competitive is that Indian market? Has it really become since you first got in there?
It's got more competitive. I think we maybe caught some of the competitors by surprise, particularly through COVID. We kept investing. We didn't blink during COVID, and we sort of skated past them and went to number one. They have responded, and it has become competitively intense. They're not going to hand us that number one position on a platter. And so we've seen things like discounting some of the markets in terms of the prices. We've seen our competitors invest a lot more in marketing to try and get that audience back. I think we're definitely beating them in things like app, and India will be an app prime market faster than any market in the world, and so that's where we see our competitive advantage. But it's quite intense. Everybody wants the same prize as we do.
The Australian market, just talk about your place there and the likelihood of rates falling in the next couple of weeks. What's that going to do for the Australian consumer and the housing sector in general? I
don't think there's any world in which a rate cut is not a good thing for property. So we welcome the fact that there is a rate cut coming, whether it's this month or later in the year. I think the great thing about it is the market expects it. And so the benefit of that rate cut is already in the property market, I think. I think we're seeing that in terms of buyer demand. You know, we've got buyer demand at very strong levels, probably the highest they've been in 2 or 3 years. And you're seeing that in vendor confidence to bring their properties to market. If you're out buying at the moment, you pretty much know your first move on interest rates is going to be down. And I think buyers are acting accordingly. So we're getting the benefit of rate cuts before they even come. And
looking at the Aussie business, we've got some operating costs up about 16%, but is that really just pay rises and extra spend on marketing?
The 16% was a couple of things. One is we have a lot of revenue-related expenditure, things like our social media product, for example, and because the revenue's been up so strongly, those revenue-related costs are up. But also, it's a bit of phasing. We did a huge marketing campaign around the Olympics. That won't be there in the second half, and so we have flagged that rate of cost growth will moderate and fall down to sort of low double digit for the full year.
In August, you did exit Property Guru, so you've got quite a lot of cash. You obviously made an attempt at Rightmove. There is a sort of 6-month window now before you can go back again. Any chance you're going to still be on the acquisition trail before you finish up as CEO?
We're always looking at acquisition. I don't think there's been a year at REA where we haven't done an acquisition. We're very sensible though. We say no to a lot more than we say yes to. It's fair to say in Australia there's not that much significantly that we could acquire. We did our investment in Athena during the half. We bought 19.9% of Athena, which we're very excited about. There are other small things that we can look at in Australia. And offshore, as I said, our key focus at the moment is definitely on India and trying to get to that number 1 position. But we have got a very strong balance sheet. I think we're sitting on over 300 million of cash. And if we don't manage to find the right acquisitions, then we would look to give some of that back to shareholders in the form of dividends.
And then just broadly, the global geopolitics situation right now. I mean, how confident do you feel in your board sitting in the boardroom with where things are at all around the world at the moment?
We're very lucky that property is hyper-local. And so what you're seeing coming out of the US, and it's great to watch the daily machinations over there, but the impact on our market here, particularly on the property market, is very remote. And so we feel very confident that our market's going to be quite healthy, particularly throughout this calendar year as we get rate cut and probably rate cut after that, and maybe even a third one if we're lucky. So it's interesting watching, but not much impact on our business.
There is obviously a federal election coming up at some point in the next few months. I mean, do you think, is that going to have much of an impact on the property market or your business at all, or is it just business as usual?
The election can have an impact. The sort of industrial logic is that people don't like to sell with the uncertainty of election, and so we normally see listings temporarily fall during the election campaign. It didn't happen at their last election, and it really, the bigger impact is if there are any property policies from either side. As I sit here now, I don't think either side's got, apart from wanting to construct more properties, which is good, there's no talk of negative gearing and things like that. So we don't see a major impact. If anything, listings might get deferred while the campaign is on.
And just the outlook for REA over the next 6 months, it seems like it's a pretty positive statement you put out this morning.
Yeah, we're very positive. We think the market is very healthy. We will be lapping some tough comps, particularly in Q4 and listings. Q4 last year was exceptionally strong, so that'll have a bit of noise in the numbers, but overall, our premium products are being purchased for every listing. We've got our price rises still in the market, and we think the market's going to be healthy. So we've pointed to a pretty good second half result.
Owen Wilson, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, let's move on to our regular Friday property segment. There are 1,938 auctions scheduled this week. Activity starting to pick up after the New Year break. New South Wales will hold about 760 auctions, with roughly 650 in Sydney. Victoria will hold about 680 auctions, with most of them in Melbourne. Queensland will hold about 300, with about 200 in Brisbane. South Australia will hold about 120, with most of them in Adelaide. Western Australia, Tasmania and the NT will hold 26 auctions between them, and the ACT will hold 62. Taking a look at the most viewed properties going to auction this weekend. And in New South Wales, the top property is 133A Warrara Avenue, Eleanora Heights. This 3-bedder is in original condition, but has 2 bathrooms, 2 parking spots, views of the ocean and Narrabeen Lagoon. Asking price, $1.9 million. In Victoria, the top property is 1 Faircroft Avenue, Glen Iris. This charming Art Deco home has 2 bedrooms, ducted heating and a garage. Asking price about $1.1 million. In Queensland, the top property is 3 Golden Ash Court, Sunnybank Hills. This 4-bedroom home sits on a large block, has a double lock-up garage and backs onto an orchard. The top property in South Australia is 41 Canouna Road, Largs Bay. This Californian bungalow has 4 bedrooms and a study. It's close to the beach, has a swimming pool with solar heating. And in Western Australia, the top property is 42 West Coast Drive, Marmion. Now, this ad has one of the worst Photoshop jobs we've ever seen. The home has 5 bedrooms and water views, but it's badly vandalised and needs extensive work. And the most viewed property on the REA Group website this week is a huge mansion in Adelaide. The address is 3-5 Old Drive, Novar Gardens, South Australia. Split over 2 land titles, this home is being described as a colonial icon that has been extensively renovated. The property has 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, parking for 8 cars. It's got 3.5 metre high ceilings, a marble kitchen, open plan living areas, and a formal dining room. Outside, there's a huge pool, mini basketball court, solar system, landscape gardens, pizza oven, and a barbecue. The block is on about 1,700 square metres, and the property is pretty close to the Glenelg beaches. Agents are taking expressions of interest until February the 17th.